it's the devices in your pockets or the systems that sustain our society. And today, a new generation of transformative engineers will enter this world. To the graduates, congratulations. You are about to begin a hard-earned new chapter. The world is waiting for what you will build, what you will heal, what you will solve, and what you will imagine. To the parents, whether you were the helicopter, the cheerleader, the ATM, the wise observer who knew when to step back, all or none of the above, your part in this deserves recognition, but way better than recognition is you get to experience that very rare parenting moment when pride and relief arrive simultaneously. Need to start, as you'd expect, with the terms of service for this talk. There's a limited liability clause, which neither Brown University or myself are responsible for injury or harm that should come from following advice in this talk. But should you connect even loosely any of your success to this talk, we'd appreciate it if you keep the Brown annual fund in mind. The second is a disclosure. I have a long family connection to Brown Engineering. In 1995, in Engineering 164, computer hardware design, I met my wife, and 30 years later, 3 decades later, she, surprising everybody, she continues to tolerate me. So while not directly married to Brown, close enough. Okay, so now that the legal stuff is behind us, it leads me to probably my first piece of advice, which is that if you are dating a Brown engineer, start thinking long term. If you are not dating a Brown engineer, today and tomorrow get out there and mingle. It worked out for me. I know that's a sample size of 1, but I did not take statistics at Brown. So. Beyond connecting me with my life partner, my Brown experience provided me with a large, diverse network that opened doors, provided perspective, picked me up when I had fallen, and supported me throughout my career. When lucky, it resulted in dear friends. For example, my freshman year roommate, who I went on to live with for 4 years, became my best friend, my best man at my wedding, and still the first person I call when I need to talk. Or the Brown engineer that led me to and referred me to a job at NASA during the summer in Palo Alto, building satellite hardware that would go on to test Einstein's theory on frame dragging. Or my senior thesis on efficient switching mechanisms for graphics pipelines that would connect me to a series of experts that would lead to my first job in computer hardware design. Or my wife's engineering lab partner, who after a 1-hour conversation in the Grad Center bar on one of my visits to Brown, packed up all of his stuff and moved out to Silicon Valley to join me at a startup. We would later sell that startup, move on to another, which was acquired by Google, and we would spend many years working together at Google, causing all sorts of problems, trouble. Now those examples I just gave you are really more my network happening to me, or happenstance. And it wasn't me leveraging my network. And believe me, I was told to leverage my network many times over the years. But I never really understood how to do that well. I think I thought of it in 2 extremes. You would, on one side, you'd traverse your network and then become very good friends with folks, or marry one of them. On the other side, you would tap your network when you needed something. That first extreme doesn't scale very well. It's really hard to maintain. You can only maintain so many friends, and I think there's a limit on how many people you can marry. And the other side is really transactional. It doesn't feel good and it doesn't strengthen bonds. So I eventually learned that there's a wonderful middle ground, which is to approach your network with curiosity, to keep in touch, learn what people in your network, what problems are they solving? What ideas do they have? What do they see as the future in their discipline? And through this approach, my Brown engineering network taught me no end of engineering. in all sorts of disciplines, whether it was the architecture of operating systems, the science of non-invasive glucose monitoring, the biochar, the scaling of business with biochar, aligning technology with humanity's best interest, or even the mathematics of ranked choice voting and the engineering of chocolate making. You are graduating with this same diverse network. Use it, learn from it, approach it with curiosity. Now, part of what I think makes this network so valuable is the way in which Brown engineers are taught to solve problems. Brown taught me really that engineering was my passion. Before I got here, I just knew I liked to take things apart and occasionally put them back together. And then Brown taught me a lot about the disciplines that I loved. I loved computer hardware design. I loved chip and logic design. I love computer science. I love machine learning. I love damped oscillations and eigenvalues. Bet you didn't expect that one. But they teach you damped oscillations and then they stop talking about it and they're like everything. Like everything is damped oscillations. Anyway, I digress. Brown also taught me disciplines that I did not like. And Brown did not care that I did not like them. I was going to learn them, damn it. And so I was forced to take thermodynamics, for which I'm still in therapy, material science, mechanical engineering, and then I had to learn this terrible type of electrical engineering. It's like the signals are not binary, they're other numbers. I think they call it analog. It's horrible, horrible. But then to top it off, they made me work with other students all the time, even though I found computers way more approachable. And this approach, or I guess all these years later, I will begrudgingly, and unfortunately very publicly, admit that this comprehensive approach reshaped my brain and changed how I tackled problems. So much so that, or I guess, let me tell you when I first arrived at starting to see this, was when at the first startup in Silicon Valley, it was always hard to attract engineers, so much going on, especially during boom times. And so at the first startup, we decided to try our hand at college recruiting. And we found some great engineers, but none better than Brown engineers. And I'll tell you the two things that we really noticed that hammered this home. One was when discussing accomplishments, Brown engineers always framed their success in the context of teamwork, as opposed to individual accomplishments. When solving problems and interview questions, Brown students would not just solve the specific problem, but would step back and solve the problem would look at the system in which the problem existed. This was so successful that one year our tiny startup actually hired more Brown engineering graduates than any other company. And we would go on, by the time we sold the company, we had hired over 20 Brown engineers. Those factors were also extremely useful in building Google Drive. Our team really approached building and creating the product from the perspective of how people would use it in every day. How would people collaborate on documents? How would it fit in workflows that happen all the time? And so this systematic approach helped Drive go from an idea to a product that was used by over 1 billion people. I think when you take this thinking you've been taught, this unique style of thinking, you put it on top of your diverse network, I think what it also gives you is a flexibility and an ability to adapt. It gave my career resilience. When I graduated, the software design discipline was just a niche discipline. The internet barely existed. Now we walk around with supercomputers in our pocket and we train AI to decode animal communication. In the 30 years of my career so far, the technological change that I have observed, you will experience in 5 years or less. And I think that is unnerving at the least and terrifying at the most. But trust that Brown has equipped you with the tools to not just handle this change, but to thrive in it. So today you're graduating with knowledge, experience, a diverse network, a unique approach to problem solving. And I want you to think, or at least I want you to consider, that these resources come with a responsibility to build, solve, to heal, and to imagine. So when the world asks, who will design our energy systems that sustain generations to come? The world asks, who will create technologies that align artificial and human intelligence? And the world asks, who will rebuild and strengthen the critical systems that shape our world? It is my hope that you will say, I will. I will, because I am, you all are, Brown engineers. Thank you for listening.